family, and welcome back to the Pragmatic Files, the Southgate Media Group podcast dedicated to all things Heroes and Heroes Reborn related stuff. I am Lilith, and on the hunt for specials with me, as always, is one of them.
It's me. It's Ricky. What up?
Because he tries not to sound sneaky.
Yeah.
So let's just get started. Jump into the recap. The original air date for this episode is January 25th, 2010. It was written by Mark Verheiden. That explains it. And Misha Green. It was also directed by S.J. Clarkson. And I'm pretty sure Ricky might have a synopsis for us.
Yeah, I do. Peter pursues a way of keeping his dream of Emma from coming true. Sylar seeks out Matt in hopes Matt will help remove his powers. Claire tries to negotiate the surrender of Samuel to Noah. Peter enters Sylar's mind.
Is he in you?
God damn it, you son of a bitch, is he in you?
Oh, so let's, where do you want to start in the breakdown? I mean, it's not really much to tease at.
So I guess we'll start with Samuel, because the rest of them are kind of pairings, so yeah, why not? Samuel's starts off as pretty much a broken man. He's just got his blanket round him, his blankie, and everyone's giving him weird looks because obviously the last thing he did was destroy that town, and he just seems not paranoid, but it seems like he's losing kind of not touch, but control of his cult, and it seems like Lydia's kind of making her way into the kind of Joseph kind of role, and he's like, well. That's not going to happen, love. It's time. So yeah, basically...
So needy in this episode.
I know, right?
Love me!
But yeah, the basic gist of it is... Claire turns up and tries to just basically ask him to surrender. No.
Okay, no. You gotta back up.
Yeah,
Claire, wants to kind of sort of make up with her dad, maybe, or maybe start a fight. Who knows? It's Claire. So she moseys on over to his apartment without calling, even though he has a lady friend. And, well, she finds said lady friend, but not in a compromising position. It's just a crazy wall of weird that all trails lead back to the carnival.
Yes.
And Lauren's like, it's not what you think. Actually, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Lauren.
it is.
So Claire storms off to warn Samuel, and that's how she gets to the carnival.
Yeah, and then she basically is trying to make Samuel give himself up because, it'll be best for, not the family, but kind of. He says he's going to give himself up, and he's kind of atoning for his quote-unquote sins. And you think, well, I don't know if you think, but I'm sure I did when I first saw it. I was like, oh, this is kind of a disappointment. He's just going to give himself up. But
no way.
It's Samuel. He's got a plan. And he's essentially turning himself into a martyr. And also at the same time, he's removing Lydia
and taking his place as being the martyr.
So yeah, he's taking Lydia away out of the picture. And the way he does this is obviously, Claire calls her dad, and her dad is on the mound with a gun, and shooting starts, and he's instantly blamed. So yeah, I think it's he's got a good plan. He's essentially created a new villain for the carnival to kind of rally against and kind of get him on side. What do you think?
Scapegoat.
Yeah.
Oh, it was genius, honestly.
Anyway, so that's basically it. Shall we move on to... We'll move on to...
Well, we have to make the Tracy reference because, she doesn't show up much, and when she does, she's annoying. Lauren makes a phone call to Tracy, and she's like, hey, Noah said to call you if anything went wrong, and then Tracy's like, oh, and I feel the same way.
Yeah. And that is actually, I think, let me just take a look. Yes, that is in... That little reference is in the comic book, which we were talking about later. But, yeah... The reason why she calls Tracy is because she herself has been shot, and she's essentially out of the game because of being shot. So yeah.
But she's human.
Yep.
Finally, we have a human.
So we'll move on to Claire and Gretchen next because there's a bit to say about it, but still.
Is it really? I mean, all Gretchen does is drive Claire to Noah's apartment, and the whole time she's like, hey, you need to tell your father what happened with Sylar. Hey, you need to tell him about the carnival. Hey, this, hey, that. And I'm like, shut up, Gretchen.
But I thought, Claire's not being a spoilt brat, but she is just digging her heels in at this point, not having to tell her dad about Sylar. And it's not because she doesn't want to tell him, it's because she just doesn't want to like have to deal with his kind of protection, I guess, at this point. And, you know, her dad's there to protect her whether or not she likes it or not. She might as well have just told him, but, you know, I can understand Gretchen. She's kind of had enough of Claire's drama at this point as well. Yeah. But, you know, Gretchen does make a good point about Claire, you know, wanting to have a normal life, always talking about having a normal life. But the first sign of trouble, Claire runs straight into it head first. Like, she's almost looking for the kind of unnormal life. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same old for Claire.
Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, she's a liar because she doesn't want to be normal. She wants to live out in the open with people knowing.
But I think, obviously, that kind of issues into the finale, which we talk about, but
that's come up so many times. Maybe not specifically from Claire, but Nathan brought it up. Peter's brought it up. A lot of other people, they've planted that seed, and it's just like, yeah, that's not a good idea. Normal people don't understand, don't hate what they don't understand. Just stay in secret.
Yes. Okay. So, finally.
Janice, Sylar, and Matt.
The Parklar back once again for the Renegade Master. Oh, man.
Oh, so awful.
So, what do you think? Do you think this kind of... The first kind of question I want to bring up is, do you think that Sylar hanging out in, like, Parkman's brain with a bit of Nathan in his body, so to speak, do you think that's what kind of urges this change in him? Or do you think it's just a natural progression of his character? What do you think?
I don't think anything about Sylar had a natural or organic progression at all. And this storyline is just so jumbled, and it doesn't get more clear that this obviously wasn't the Sylar endgame from the beginning, because it's just awkward, not in like a good funny way. It's just awkward in how bad it is.
Fair enough. But anyway, Sylar's turns up at Matt's house, and he's kind of jealous of Matt, which is really weird to say because, you know, he's been in his head and he's just berating him half the time. But, you know, he's jealous of the...
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
He's got a wife and a baby, and they love him unconditionally.
And I think also he's able to kind of live with his powers. I think he says, you know, you're able to live with your powers and not have them control you. And so he just wants Parkman to kind of switch them off. And, you know, it's Sylar essentially just forcing Parkman to purge him of his powers, which is kind of... I don't know what would have happened if he had just been... If he had been, like, powerless, he would have just ended up whining about it again because he would have wanted to be special, I guess, but who knows. But anyway, what do you think about Janice being the one to kind of be like, that's Sylar? Why didn't you kill him? You should kill him. He's a murderer.
No, that is totally a Janice thing to do. She's very pragmatic, if nothing else.
Fair enough. But then, in the end of it, at the end of the day, Parkman ends up being not what he didn't want to be, but he ends up becoming his father. Does he not? Because he ends up becoming the Nightmare Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of poetic, and I like it, but at least he has, like, remorse about it. He has more of a better reason to do it.
Yeah.
And he does it in a more sympathetic way ever than his father did. So.
Yeah. You know what?
He's like, I can live with that.
Yeah, I can live with that. It's Sylar. He tortured me for a while. He had sex with my wife. As me. He was probably a better lover than me. It's Janice.
Hashtag inadequacies.
Cool. So that's basically it. He ends up trapping Sylar in his own nightmare, which is basically him on his own, in the world, on his own. And, you know, it's Parkman, so he's not got the best of ideas. You know, he's just had, like, one of the best ideas he's ever had, and then he follows it up by burying Sylar behind his wall. Why?
No, it's a cast of about, you know, it's that Edgar Allan Poe story.
I guess.
Which I laugh at every time. I'm like, so, like, are you telling his mind to, like, feed himself? Or do you want him to wither away? Or, I mean, I know he has, like, Claire's power, but it's like, that's excruciating.
Yeah.
To starve to death and then regenerate. Like, that was the most brutal part of it all, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, well.
It's Sylar.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Peter then.
What happens with Peter? Go on.
Peter starts dreaming about Emma. Like, oh my God, why is it that every single girl you meet has to be a project, Peter? It's sick compulsion, and I'm sick of it. Then he goes over to Angela's apartment, and she's like, I can't. She's talking about, like, Nathan's tombstone, and I'm just like, I'm so over this. Shut up, Angela. And then Angela like tries to warn him because he's like, well, if Sylar can save Emma, I guess I gotta save Sylar. And I'm like, yeah, because that's good heroes logic.
Yeah, definitely.
Just nothing good came of this. Just tragedy of
Yeah,
Shakespearean levels.
definitely. And then Peter goes over to save Sylar and ends up in his head, sitting down on the ground.
That sums it up, doesn't it?
Pretty much. Let's just go on to the review. Yes, I got it right.
You're not gonna say it all British like.
No, definite. The review.
Come on, class up the joint. There you go.
So.
Okay. Best character.
Oh man, there's so many to choose from, isn't there? Samuel. It's got to be Samuel. The plan was masterful. I love it. Yeah, how about you?
I'm gonna go with Matt.
Okay. For why?
I don't know. He's just doing what he can do to protect not only his family from Sylar, but the world too. He knows it's only a matter of time before Sylar goes back off the rails, no matter how sincere he thinks he is. And I just think it might have not been the best execution, but it was a good thought.
Fair enough. So, who... Best scene?
Best character interaction.
Yes. What is your favourite character interaction?
I don't have any.
Oh, fair enough.
I would go with the Pilar family lunch thing.
Hmm.
Like, it just showed how poorly planned this whole side Nathan thing turned out.
I think I'll go with it. Because, it's a good kind of back and forth, I feel. And, even though Sylar's kind of quote-unquote good, he's trying not to kill, his kind of evil side does show up. So it shows, no matter how much he tries to be a good guy, it doesn't really work out for him in the end. I guess. Anyway, what was your favourite scene?
Oh, I know. It's Samuel. It's the end scene. It's Samuel closing Lydia's eyes as Edgar arrives, and he's like swaying Edgar back to his side, and I'm like, masterful stroke, sir. I salute you.
I am going to go with... I don't even know. I do like kind of Lydia dying. It's quite a little... it's a sly little storyline there. The kind of... but just sly kind of... They don't bring it up. They don't say, you killed the person who was coming up, and everyone's kind of turning to in Samuel's kind of descent. They don't bring it up in this episode anyway. So yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But,
I don't have mine, though.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it would have had more impact if we knew more about her. Even after watching all these kind of webisodes and reading these graphic novels, which are all about them, I still feel that I don't really know her that much. And
that's the problem with Heroes tie-in media at the end of the day. It's tons and tons of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's so superfluous and just meaningless.
Totally.
But fun, just pass the time with.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically it. So we'll move on to the graph. Oh no, we need to talk about the grade. What grade are you going to give this?
I'm going to give this a C-. C as in cat, minus as in being generous.
I think I'm just going to go with a C- as well. Just because, nothing... It's setting it up for the next episode, but still, it doesn't really mean that much at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the Samuel storyline is... No, actually, I'm going to bring it up to a C because of the Samuel storyline. I think it's a really good... little aspect of the show. So yeah, how about you? Why are you giving it a C-?
It's so slow and plotting, and the clear whining, and the Lauren thing, and it's just they telegraphed a lot of the Samuel stuff, which is what I had a problem with. It's Samuel's not gonna die, obviously it's gonna be another woman in a refrigerator. I'm just tired of the hero tropes of it all at this point. It's nothing surprises me anymore with the show at this point.
I guess, yeah. Who knows?
About that graphic novel.
Yeah. We have Reaching Out Part 1 and Reaching Out Part 2, and it's basically Tracy-centric comics, graphic novels. So,
hooray.
I know, right? The first one is Reaching Out Part 1. It starts off with basically Tracy's kind of set up her own kind of haven for specials to kind of learn how to use their powers, and she's using the Eli clones for them in order to train, which is kind of a good idea because you can kill them and nothing much really happens. We find out she's kind of being funded, quote unquote, by Angela. It ends up with Eli trying to take out Tracy because obviously he's got the word from Samuel. Which moves us on to Reaching Out Part 2, where Eli's trying to recruit one of Tracy's kind of team, I guess, is for lack of a better... trainees, yes. And Eli is trying to take out Tracy along with the help of Becky. A fight breaks out, and obviously Tracy wins, and she gets the phone call whilst talking to Angela Petrelli, and leaves to go help Noah Bennett. So yes, when you see that in the show, just realize that Mama Petrelli is on the other side.
Yeah. Saving Noah's butt, and that's why I ship it, and that's why I'm so annoyed with the Noah trailers. I'm just like, that is not the lady who used to be kissing him. Anyway, let's see. So the first part of this two-parter was written by Oliver Grigsby, and the art was by Saya Oyum. And same can be said for part 2. The Easter egg for number 1 is a behind-the-scenes image of Robert Knepper looking like he's ready to go to a Fall Out Boy audition. And then the second Easter egg is a behind-the-scenes image of Sunil, James Kyson, Lee, and Masi. And I guess it's the one where they're in their mental patient clothes.
Yeah, waving. But anyway, so...
No, in the swamp.
Oh, okay. So we will get on to the live tweets. The following people joined us for the Art of Deception live tweets. They were either tweeting, retweeting, or faving during the episode. We have Pope_Melissa, Mr. Man 92, Loco Pantra, Paraceline, Heroes Reborn _, Soft_Guitar 60, and Liz_@heart. Thank you all very much.
Looks like it's time for some shameless plugs and self-promotion. We'll start with the show contact info. We here at Pragmatic Files love listener feedback. If you would like to get a hold of us, we have a ton of ways. You can email us via pragmaticfiles@gmail.com. You can leave us a private message or interact with our posts over on facebook.com/pragmaticfiles. We live tweet 2 episodes per week every Saturday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information, be sure to follow us on Twitter at pragmaticfiles. You can also find us on Clamor, Tumblr, and YouTube by simply searching for Pragmatic Files. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. What's that? You don't have an iTunes account? That's okay. We're on a lot of podcatcher services such as Stitcher and SoundCloud. All you have to do is search for, you guessed it, Pragmatic Files. We're also on Libsyn. And if you want to follow our RSS feed there, all you have to do is go to pragmaticfiles.libsyn.com and bookmark the site to stay up to date with this podcast. Libsyn is spelled Libsyn, just in case you were wondering. We look forward to interacting with you.
If you love our podcast, be sure to check out Southgate Media Group's iTunes provider page to see a list of what other podcasts are hot and trending in our network. Or you can take that one step further and visit southgatemediagroup.com, where you can find a full list of our 80-plus podcasts, along with weekly blogs and information about all the hosts. With so many podcasts that cover everything from anime to wrestling, there's sure to be tons of podcasts that could interest you.
Hey guys, you should know by now that you can find me on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire. If you have a Tumblr, be sure to check out it's lilithhellfire.tumblr.com. And of course, be sure to swing by my blog if you are a pop culture junkie or comic book geek at littlepopculturevulture.blogspot.com. I also host several other podcasts on the Southgate Media Group network. Some of them are The Flashpoint, Queen Consolidated, and Channel 52. So if you are into, obviously, DC comic book related stuff, be sure to check it out.
You can find my writings at tvbinges.com. It's a place for all your binge watching needs, and you can also create your own TV binge and we'll help promote it. We do a monthly binge watch, which you're more than welcome to join in. Just go to their Twitter at tvbinges just to find out more information. You can find me on Twitter at RickyJDiaz. That's RickyJDiaz, or Z if you're American.
Finally, it is time to wrap it up. We want to thank you for joining us on this edition of the Pragmatic Files. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion on episode 416, The Art of Deception. I hope you found it entertaining and informative. And we want to encourage you to email us, tweet at us, hit us in our inbox on Tumblr, but especially please like, share, and comment on our Facebook post, as that's the quickest way to get in contact with us.
Download the podcast, save the world.